Most of y'all be running way too much lift on your coilovers, and your ride is suffering because of it. If I had a nickel for every time somebody told me these coilovers suck just to find out they had way too much preload in them, well, I could be retired from selling shocks, that's for sure. But today, luckily for you guys, we're here to fix that. As always, I'm Sean Bowman. This is the Shock Surplus Shop, so let's talk some shock. Keeping it short today, so we're not going to go into the deep science of how preload works and all that malarkey. Suffice it to say, your springs are what hold the weight of the vehicle and therefore determine ride height. Since that spring is mounted to the strut or the coilover body, the position of that spring or how much preload it has will have a determination on ride height. When you are adjusting preload on an off-road oriented coilover, total extended length is not changing. Total amount of travel is not changing. What you are changing is how much that strut is going to be compressed when the vehicle sits under its own weight, or more specifically, where it's split between upward and downward travel is going to be, and well, that's the heart of what we're going to be talking about today. But if you do want that in-depth video about how preload works and all that mumbo jumbo, make sure to let us know down in the comments, and while you're there, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and the bell icon, because how are you going to know we made that video you asked us to make unless you're subscribed? In any case, let's get down to brass tacks. And what's good news for you guys looking at a coilover that already comes loaded is that most manufacturers preset them to what they believe is going to be the best setting and the best split between upward and downward travel for the exact application they tested it on. So if your vehicle is pretty similar to their test mule in terms of options and build, and your use case isn't way too far outside of the norm, you can kind of just bolt them on and forget about it. The problem becomes is specifically curb weights and even wheelbases vary greatly on any given application, and after you get it and start modifying it, well, chances are your weight's going to vary a good bit too. So that doesn't mean you're completely free from adjustment. And I'll give you an example. The example being the most popular truck on the road, Ford F-150s. Most coilovers for F-150s are going to be built around the most popular of the popular trucks. That spec is going to be a 3.5 EcoBoost, Super Crew, 4-wheel drive, and by proxy, the 5-liter Coyote trucks, because they weigh about the same. The thing is, if you have a 2.7 EcoBoost single cab or a 3.5 Power Boost hybrid, Super Crew, long bed, whatever, your truck is going to vary greatly in terms of weight. Simply put, chances are, if you are on either extremes of the specification range of an application, you're going to expect to have to do some adjusting. The additional good news is there are a ton of brands that list their ideal out-of-the-box lift height setting or the out-of-box lift height setting on the application they tested them on, or at the very least, if you ask us, it's something we can probably extrapolate with a little deductive reasoning. So it's as simple as measuring your current ride height, measuring the ride height you gain with the coilovers, and adjusting accordingly. For those of you looking to figure out how to measure your suspension or measure ride height, we like to go with a hub defender measurement. Basically, you measure from the center of the wheel hub to the top of the wheel opening, front and rear, with the vehicle sitting under its own weight on level ground. We'll go back to this 2.7 EcoBoost F-150 and F-150s as a whole. Let's say a set of coilovers was meant to be out of the box at 2 inches of lift on a 3.5 EcoBoost or a 5-liter Coyote, Super Crew 4-wheel drive F-150. You have that single cab 2.7. Your factory measurements are about 22.5 inches from hub defender on the front. You bolt on that coilover and you find yourself at about 25.5 inches, which means you got about 3 inches of lift. That means you're going to want to bring it down to 24.5 inches or back off an inch to get to that 2-inch lift setting. The thing is, not every coilover or ride height adjustable strut comes assembled as standard, and not very many will tell you exactly what their out-of-the-box lift height is supposed to be. Additionally, outside of the variance of your vehicle itself, your use case might skew exponentially beyond what the normal person might use their vehicle for, and that is when you start to have to put your thinking cap on a little bit. In the absence of a setup that already comes assembled or something that has a listed out-of-the-box lift height, our go-to recommendation is just start by setting it in the middle. Although it's not ubiquitous for everything to come assembled and everything to list an out-of-the-box lift height or an optimal lift height, it is pretty bog standard for most coilover kits to have an adjustment range spackled across all of their specifications and their descriptions. So you just choose the middle of that range. They determine this range by about how much travel they add to the suspension, as well as some little bits of spring geometry, with most brands only allowing you to go tall enough to lose about an inch of total droop travel. To give you guys an example, you might see a set of coilovers that does 1 to 3 inches of lift. It will offer 2 inches of additional travel. That means at 3 inches, you will have only lost about 1 inch of droop travel, but gained 2 inches total. And that goes back to us telling you to set it in the middle. Obviously, this isn't how it always works out. It's not always this easy, but if, let's say, that coilover offered 2 inches more travel, you set it at 2 inches of lift, that would mean you just gained 2 inches of upward travel without losing any droop. Once again, doesn't always work out this easily, but like I said, starting off in the middle is a good jumping off point. But I will say, this is only for people who are using their vehicle like most people use their vehicle. If your use case is skewed to the extreme, well, there's some more adjusting you'll need to do. Fast off-road or rock crawling or hitting technical trails, both demand the most of the limited travel you're going to have, but for opposite reasons or in opposite directions. You can only go as fast off-road as you have bump travel, and you can only go as far on a technical trail as you have down travel to articulate. Brother, you ain't going nowhere if your tires are in the air. As we've been talking about, the taller you go, the more upward travel you have. So chances are, if you have a heavy foot off-road and your primary use case in the dirt is going fast, you're going to want to be on the higher end of that lift height range, but not so tall that it tops out so often that it's trying to suck the front end into every hole or just chatters all the time. Using the previous example of those 1 to 3 inch lift coilovers that give you 2 inches of extra travel, this might be a condition where if you can at least have an adequate amount of droop travel at 3 inches of lift, you might go all the way up to that 3 inch lift number. But when you got to get it flexed out, you need more travel in the opposite direction. Just like when you go taller, you have more bump travel and less droop travel. The lower you are, the more down travel you have at the expense of bump travel. Most of your articulation is probably going to be coming from down travel or droop. If you're looking at coilovers, chances are you got an independent suspension setup at least in the front, which means you have something that is going to struggle to articulate. An independent suspension setup really doesn't like to compress all the way through its travel, but it'll droop out, it'll extend as much as it has travel to extend. So this is where droop is everything to you. Outside of having more physical travel, the more preload you add onto a coilover, the more spring force you're adding, and potentially making it harder for a suspension that doesn't want to compress in an articulation event to compress in an articulation event. So obviously lower is better. If we're using that same 1 to 3 inch lift coilover example, that's where you might even consider going all the way down to that 1 inch minimum. Since you're gaining 2 inches of total travel, you are gaining 1 inch of droop, but you're still gaining 1 inch of bump just in case you got to get a little western and bounce your way up an obstacle. Ultimately, though, there's no one best answer for one application or for every application out there. It really comes down to you, your preferences, and exactly the trails you're going to be hitting, which is why you got to know when to go taller, you got to know when to go lower, and you got to be able to read those tendencies to make those adjustments accordingly. So let's talk about it. I am not you are not I, and neither of us are the manufacturer of the coilovers you're looking to buy. So it's less about the position of the adjustment nut and more about the nut behind the wheel doing the adjustment, if you know what I mean. So that's why I say it really doesn't matter if we can give you some arbitrary number. The real thing you need to learn how to do is to know how to adjust them based on maximizing the performance, the amount of travel you have for your specific needs. Now, I can't teach you to calibrate your butt dyno. That's going to take many thousands of miles. Mine's not even always all that well calibrated, but what I can give you is some things to look out for. I think we're all pretty well versed in what it feels like to bottom out. The loud thud, the organ rearranging hit of you running out of travel when you hit a bump too hard is hard to miss. And if you find yourself dodging every imperfection, finding yourself flying through through the air off of a lot of different hits because you bottomed out and sprung right off of it, well, it might help you to go taller. The thing is, topping out may not be something that is quite as intuitive, but as the name belays, topping out is just like bottoming out. You're just running out of travel in the opposite direction, and a lot of the thud, a lot of the harshness is very similar. It's just happening when the suspension is rebounding. If the suspension generally feels harsh, it feels like you're in a covered wagon. Every single dip or depression in the road is sucking the vehicle down. You find yourself going too slow over a bump and you get a hard thump, a hard clunk of the suspension fully topping out. Well, it's time to lower it. Additionally, you find yourself on a trail and all you can do is look at the air underneath your tire. Might be worth your while to play with preload, back it off a little bit and see if you can still maintain enough bump travel while getting a little bit more flex. But ultimately, step one always is, once you get your baseline settings in, is drive your rig the way you plan on driving your rig in the places you plan on driving it, and tune accordingly. I know a lot of you guys like numbers, so I'll just put it out plainly. I would not want to have any less than 4 inches of bumper upward travel, even on a rock crawler. And I wouldn't really want to have less than 3 inches of down or droop travel at the wheel, even on a pre-runner. If you're doing your math, that means 7 inches total. And well, if you can't achieve 7 inches with your desired bolt-on setup, might be time to consider something a little bigger, a little badder. It really is as simple as it sounds, but like I was saying, sometimes the stars don't align. A perfect example of this is Brandon's 2nd gen Xterra, which is a great little rig, but certainly suffered from a lack of travel in the front. I think from the factory, it had 6 or 6.5 inches of travel, split pretty evenly with about a little over 3 inches of up travel, a little bit over 3 inches of droop. So we're below our minimum on bump travel and right at our minimum on droop. We toyed with a bunch of different stock with bolt-on setups, ultimately landing on the Bilstein 6112s, which netted us 1 inch more travel. That meant we could go to 1.5 inches of lift in the front before it started topping out violently, but truthfully, it still waved a tire all the time and didn't give Brandon a whole lot of confidence on any trail. Still bottomed out too easily and just didn't feel that great. Right after that, we Titan-swapped it with a little longer version of the 5100s, basically the same shock, just longer, and it got exponentially better. We were able to achieve about 3 inches of lift with more droop travel than stock, and basically netted us a total of around 10 inches of travel. On tough trails, it's hard for me to tell if that thing has a solid axle in the front or independent suspension, even though I know it has a independent suspension, and I wouldn't be surprised if we doubled our speed out in the desert. Now, reinventing the wheel completely with your suspension like we did isn't always going to be the right choice for everybody or a choice everybody can afford, but I will say it is going to be cheaper than trying and failing your way through cheaper setups to ultimately get yourself into something that makes you happy. So if those extended travel coilovers that required an aftermarket upper control arm or even that long travel kit was scaring you off because of price, just remember it might ultimately be cheaper to buy once and cry once than have to step your way up through stuff you're just going to throw away. And on that bombshell, I'll leave it to you guys to mull it over in the comments. And while you're there, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and the bell icon so you can stay up to date on all the fun stuff we're getting into. We always have a long form video dropping every Thursday or Friday every week. And Monday through Friday, you're going to get a short. So there's a lot to learn. None of us know enough about suspension, not even me. So it's worth your while to stay tuned on what we got going on. But if you're interested in a ride height adjustable coilover or strut or some matching shocks or anything else suspension related, shocksurplus.com is your one-stop shop. And in the meantime, we'll see you out on the trails.